How is everybody? This is different. Usually I'm used to seeing lots of eyes when I do something like this and making a lot of contact. So this is very different for me. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. My name is Tyler Betzhold, like Olivia said. I'm the executive chef here on campus at the university. Been in this role now for 2.5 years. This dessert specifically is definitely something that stems from Glenn Pruden. If any of you have been here in the past 40 years, you've eaten Glenn's food. So this stems from him. I've been at the university now for, 11 years in a couple weeks. June 1st will be 11 years. Started off as the catering chef here. Did that for, roughly 7.5 years, and then moved into this new role. Been all around fine dining, corporate dining, country clubs, and now in collegiate, which I will tell you is the most challenging, but it is the most fun because it does everything. And it never stops being, never stops changing and evolving, that's for sure, especially during this time. So right now, what we're gonna do is jump into Jersey Dirt. That's why we're here. This is a obvious classic. It's been around for a long time. It's funny, I've heard so many different stories about the infamous Jersey Dirt. I know that there's the one that was published, about I think it was a student's mother who submitted to a recipe contest and then it became a hit. There's just so many different, I would say, stories when it comes to the dessert area in the Hellman Dining Center that are legendary as far as there's an endowment for the desserts. We've heard students on tours that are talking about how, what was the one I heard just a year ago? Something about how we're insured on the desserts and just funny stuff. But anyways, Jersey Dirt, it's a real popular one. This I made 2 weeks ago at home with my daughter. I'm sure a lot of you are at home trying to manage, the kids at home or a kid at home. This is a great one because you can't really mess it up. You can add whatever you want to it, and you can make it unique just for how you want to have it. So let's get into it. Let's go ahead and review the ingredients that we're using today. We're going to start off with cream cheese. So just go ahead and get your cream cheese. Now with baking, you'll notice in this recipe, primarily we want to work within weight. We don't really want to use volume measures like a cup or tablespoon. Typically when we want to do more weight, especially here in Hellman Dining Center, when we make a recipe, I think this one is for 10. Yeah, we're making it for 500. So the weight is where it's very important to get those things precise. For this type of recipe, just to get an idea, 2 and 2¾ ounces of cream cheese. It's roughly about a half a cup. What we'll do is we'll cream that out. We'll add our butter and powdered sugar. We'll add our vanilla pudding instant and then also milk. Now to note, if you want to get a little bit, challenge yourself with this recipe, you could make the pudding at home. Pudding it's very easy to make. It's basically just eggs, cornstarch, and milk, and sugar. You just kind of temper it up, let the eggs cook and thicken up, and you could put it in your large container, small containers, and let it cool. And then you could go ahead and kind of make the prettier finished piece just like that. But it's really easy. There's a lot of really good recipes out there. I know a site that we use a lot here is just like something basic, like allrecipes.com. It's a great place to get a base recipe on how to do something and it will work. But anyways, if you want to go a little bit crazy, make the pudding. If you want to go crazy once you're done making that pudding and it's all hot, you can just throw it on top of some chocolate chips, mix it together. Now you got chocolate pudding. But anyways, we'll be adding some vanilla extract after we add our milk and our instant pudding mix. And then we have on top, which is a whipped topping. So this would be equivalent to, I just went blank, Cool Whip, something like that. Once again, if you want to challenge yourself a little bit, go ahead and make the whipped cream. I would say for a batch like this, you would need about 1 cup of heavy cream. And generally, I like to leave my whipped cream a little bit less sweet because usually whatever you're putting in it is pretty sweet. So I would just do probably about a half a tablespoon of powdered sugar. And of course, you could add more, add less. You could throw cocoa powder in there to mix it up if you want to do chocolate whipped cream. You know, go crazy with that. But if you do make the whipped cream yourself while you're doing this recipe, I would highly recommend that you do very stiff peaks. That means like this. The whipped cream doesn't even really move. And what that'll do is it'll help set and stay in form the way you want it to. All right. So, oh, lastly, pretty important, Oreo cookie crumbles. All right. You can buy the pieces if you want, or you can just get a sleeve of Oreos and smash them up. I find, especially with kids, buy them whole. They have a lot more fun smashing them up. And what I typically do is I just go ahead and take the pack and then put it in a Ziploc bag and let them have a little bit of fun with that. And that keeps them entertained. All right, Olivia, we got any questions or anything before we start? Good to go?
We are good to go.
All right, okay. So what you're gonna wanna do, you can do this in a regular just mixing bowl. If you do, or whenever you're doing this, you really wanna make sure your cream cheese and your butter, you pull out at least an hour, you know, 2-3 hours is better before you make the recipe. And the reason is that you wanna get that chill out. We're trying to cream those items out. So it'll make the process a lot easier. If you're using a hand mixer, this is going to be a little more challenging. Make sure you really do let that stuff get to room temperature. After really reviewing everything, I'm seeing that this little stand-up mixer that we have, I mean, this is the smallest that we got here, it's pretty much overkill for this recipe, but that's okay. You could use a hand mixer. That would work fine. But I think this will still work in here, and just in case I made a little bit of a larger batch.
Hey, Chef, we do have one question.
All right.
We have, if we crush the Oreos, do we include the whole cookie with the filling or just the cookie part?
Great question. The whole thing. You want the whole shebang in there. You don't want to miss out on any of that goodness. So yeah, use the whole cookie. And you know, and you can mix it up with so many different cookies. If you're a fan of Nutter Butters or anything like that, I mean, you can use a different cookie for each one as well. I know, you know, sometimes you could take this filling that we're going to make, add some, you know, Marsala wine to it. And then instead of Oreos, use ladyfingers or Salvadori cookies. You can make a tiramisu cup, you know, things like that. But yeah, use the whole cookie. So what we'll do is we'll start off with our cream cheese. And we're going to throw that in our mixer. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get that mixing, and we want to soften it up. And what we're looking for here is once it gets to a point where you could, let's say, spread it easily, kind of more like butter when it comes out of the butter when it gets a little bit soft, something like that. That's what this whole process you're trying to do when it comes to the creaming. You're gonna have to scrape it a few times, okay? And I think on the recipe it said a few minutes. That's definitely in the realm of the batches we're making, that size. This really shouldn't take more than 1 or 2 minutes to cream it out to where you can go through it. Just to show you what we're looking for. So something like that, how it's kind of, you can easily spread it. That's good. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and add our butter. All right. And then we're going to repeat the same process. So what we want to do is incorporate those two items together. It's already starting off great. You can't really go wrong with butter and cream cheese. You know? All right. So now scrape it down a little bit. And one thing that, you know, if you want to make a bigger batch, obviously, you just double up the ingredients. You know, you can make this for, you know, 15 people, or you can make it for 20 people. It's really, it's a very easy recipe to take up or down if you want to do more. I don't think you can do much more or less than what we're doing right now. All right. So now where we're at, we're going to go ahead and add our powdered sugar. All right. Looks like a lot. It is. We're going to go ahead and add that in. And what we want to do, make sure you turn your mixer on the lowest setting. Okay. I have definitely dusted myself plenty of times in the kitchen, and it's not fun. Especially something like powdered sugar. It's so fine, it goes everywhere. Because if you turn the mixer on too high, this is going to make a pretty fun explosion in your home. I'm sure the kids would love it and find it absolutely hilarious, but I wouldn't recommend it. So this you want to incorporate in. And once again, you're going to have to scrape down those sides in order to really get this incorporated. What we'll do is turn that back on. And you will notice that obviously I'm mixing it at a higher speed now. Once that sugar is incorporated in, feel fine to let it rip. So now just so you can kind of see what we're doing. Olivia, are any people making this right now at home? Or is everybody just kind of watching?
I think we have a mix. If you're making this along with the chef, do you mind typing in the group chat if you are?
Yeah, because if you have any questions, let me know. Just in case there's a step or there's questions along the way. So what you're looking for is something like that. It's kind of, it's spreadable. It's all incorporated. Try to get those lumps out of the sugar, because confectioner's sugar tends to have lumps in it. It wouldn't be a bad idea to run that through a sifter if you can before you start this process. Should have mentioned that earlier. If you're at home making it, sorry. It'll still be tasty. It's okay. All right. I don't think anyone's going to be too upset with a little bit of sugar. All right.
We do have one attendee who's making it with chocolate pudding.
All right. Okay.
So, getting creative.
And just so everyone knows, I mean, half of my chefs are watching this because they wanted to see me do this today. And I don't think any of them are making it home right now. So, all right. So now we're good to go. Now what you're going to be doing is you're going to want to add your milk and your pudding mix. And what you're wanting to do is you want to incorporate a little bit at a time. To give you an idea, I mean, pretty much 25% of each item back and forth. So you're going to do this roughly, what, 8 times. Once again, turn that speed on low, because if you don't, it might be a little bit of a mess. All right. So pretty much adding about a half a cup there. And what we're going to do now, turn this up a little bit, we'll add some of this pudding mix. And then we're using a vanilla pudding mix. Really, I mean, any of the brands out there for what you're doing right now, it's going to be fine. I really don't have some strong recommendations as far as, you know, what brand you want to use or anything like that. It's whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you prefer. But all of them will pretty much activate and work about the same. All right. And just to keep in mind, because I didn't state this, you're going to want to go ahead and keep your milk chilled. You're not going to want that at room temperature or warm through this process because that helps activate the pudding. So you're really going to want to keep that chilled. Make sure it has a good chill in it when you're doing this process because it helps it set. So in case you're, let's say, eating this right away or, making it in an hour from now for, I was going to say dinner guests. I guess it'll be a while for that one. But, that way it could be all set and looking beautiful the way you want it to. We're going to add some more milk. Add a little bit more of the pudding mix. We'll do it one last time. We'll give it a good scrape. And one thing that our bakers were reminding me of with this, like I was saying about like the tiramisu, well, there are so many variations of this that you can do. I mean, for this filling right here, when you're done making it, during the holiday, you can crush up peppermint candies, put it in there to make, a little bit more of a peppermint holiday type Jersey dirt, if you will. And I'm going to put the rest of it in. Halloween, I know they do butterscotch pudding, sprinkles, things like that. What was the other one that they wrote down? Oh, this is a great one. Easter. You can go ahead and do food coloring. So you can put a pastel food coloring in here to kind of color it out. You could do multiple layers of colors on there to kind of get that Easter look going. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this mix for a sec. Make sure it's all incorporated, all the lumps are out. Okay. And this is looking about right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add our vanilla extract. Put that in. Okay. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to grab our whipped topping, or if you went for the moon, you're grabbing your homemade whipped cream right now. Keep it in the fridge the whole time. Pull it out. And what we'll do is we'll start adding it in. It's kind of pulling it in. It's kind of not. But you're just incorporating it into the pudding mix that you made with your butter and cream cheese. You don't really want to put it all in at the exact same time. About this time would be a good time to go ahead and break out those Oreos. And if you got kids at home with you, get them all set up for a little smashing experiment. They could go ahead and get all those crushed up and ready to go. Because what we're going to do, what we would be doing at home, is we're going to scrape this down one more time. If you notice, I really didn't use high speed this whole time. For something like this, you really don't need to. I'm picking it up a little bit now just so I make sure I activate that pudding mix. Don't go too crazy. It'll get a little dirty like I just did. All right, I think we're good to go. All right. So take your whisk out if you can do that, unlike me. All right. So looking at the finished product, it's going to be kind of almost pourable at this point, right? So what you want to do is you'd want to put this in the fridge. Let that set up a little bit. What you're going to end up with to something that sets, especially when that cream cheese and that butter get a little bit colder, because right now it's a little bit warm from all the mixing. You're gonna have something that's a little bit more, that's staying up a little bit. So it's a little bit thicker to work with, and it'll set, okay? And now you're at the finishing stages. So you're gonna wanna decide what you're gonna put it in. We'll go ahead and demo one in a U of R cup. You know, this is what we'll go ahead and make together. Obviously you could do trifle, something like this, where you could do multiple layers to make it look real pretty. If you have something more like, you know, a 9-inch baking dish at home or serving platter, something like that, this would work just as fine too. It really, it doesn't matter. It's however you want to do it. It's completely fine. And that's one of the fun things about a recipe like this. You can do whatever you want to. You know, it's not on there on the recipe, but at home, I mean, we always have to add gummy worms. We got to add gummy worms to the end of this so that you have your little cup of dirt. You know, it's however you want to do it. For this, you can use a pastry bag. If you don't have a pastry bag, you can put it in a Ziploc bag and cut off a tip and use that as a pastry bag. You can roll it in parchment paper if you want to make a little pastry bag. If not, use a scoop, use a spoon. There are no rules. All right. So what we'll do now, we'll get this all set up and we'll make a couple. All right. And if any of you have not worked with a pastry bag or anything like that, what you want to do is generally get it flat, okay? Kind of collapse that in your hand together, and then you want to twist whatever way is more comfortable for you to hold the bag. Now, a lot of people think you have to squeeze with this hand. No, you want to turn and apply pressure with your right hand, or if you're left-handed, it would be your left hand. But that whole process, the whole time, you're turning and gently squeezing. That's how you do it. Here, you really don't have a whole lot of control if you're squeezing from here, and then it's gonna, you know, you have some here, some there. It doesn't work that great. But that's just a little tidbit. You can avoid all that by using a scoop, whatever you prefer. All right, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and put some Oreo crumbs at the bottom of the cup. Once again, there are no rules. You could fill this cup halfway with Oreos if that's what you want to do. We're going to go ahead and just put about a tablespoon in there to start off, all right? Do the same thing in the other cup. All right. Make sure I get that shield out front. So right there, we're going to go ahead and put a scoop in. And we'll go ahead and pipe a little bit in there. And for something like this, this is, you can make as many layers as you want. It's just how much you want to add to each one and how much you want to do. If you're using a scoop, you'll notice that a lot of it doesn't fall. So the best way that I've found to do that is just tap it. And you'll see that'll flatten it out for you. Can everyone see that? It'll flatten it out for you and level it out. And then what you want to do is just do layer after layer. You know, I know at home, this is about when some sprinkles get added as well. Pretty much anything my daughter can find would be being added right about now into the layers. That's where it's a lot of fun. My wife always goes and gets, you know, different things that we could go ahead and put in here, and that's when the kids have the most fun with it, is when they get to add whatever they want. So anyway, and hey, it can be fun for us adults too. It doesn't have to be for the kids only. All right. So what we'll do is we'll put another layer on top. All right, and then we'll pipe another layer on top. And tap it down a little bit. And then we finish it off with putting this right on top. And there it is. That is the world famous Jersey Dirt. All right. Let's give it a shot. And now what you got to do is you got to try it. Make sure it's good. That is such a simple, fun recipe that, I mean, people just love it. This is something that, I mean, I've been here for 11 years. People talk about this more than any fancy meal I've ever done here. So it is a crowd favorite for sure. And like I said, you can personalize this and do anything you want to it. Please know that I'm obviously on Outlook here for the university. You can email me if you have any questions about any of this process or what could you add, or I mean anything. It's fine by me. But you go ahead and do that. You could put it in the fridge. Putting it in the fridge would allow it to set once again a little bit more, but that's up to you. It'll hold for a good 24 hours. After that, it's going to get, the Oreo is going to soak up some of that moisture, and it's going to, you know, obviously get a little soft. So you want to eat it. To me, I would make this in the morning or, you know, early afternoon, and it should be ready to go, you know, for dinner. Or you can make it that evening for the next day. But I think that's Jersey Dirt. Were there any questions that anybody had?
We don't have any questions. We got some questions for the recipe, which we're going to send out. So don't worry about that. We'll make sure that everyone gets the recipe so you can make it at home. And other than that, we've just got a lot of yums and looks amazing, and they can't wait to make it later. And just to thank you so much for showing everyone how to make it.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate everyone being here and joined us for this. We will be doing a segment later on in June. I know that one of our chefs is going to be making some ice creams for you. I'll probably be there with them. And then we're looking at doing a couple others that'll be a little bit more maybe summer focused. We're thinking about, you know, some grilling, some smoking, barbecue type things, maybe some churrasco in there, get a little crazy. One thing I neglected to mention, when you are doing something like this, I highly, highly recommend that you know, in the cooking shows, how everything's all measured out and separated, do that beforehand. It'll make it so much smoother and faster and cleaner in your workspace. I really recommend you go ahead and measure everything out beforehand and kind of separate it out so that when you're doing it, it's really quick. It'll just work better for you. Obviously, if you don't have enough containers or anything like that, it's not the end of the world. It's completely fine. But just a recommendation. Well, that's about it. I mean, once again, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. The university appreciates it. And it was just really nice to share this dessert with you. And I'm actually going to call Glenn Pruden right after this. He was the executive chef here for 40+ years, just to let him know that we did this demo today, because he will really get a kick out of that. He retired in February, so I'm going to let him know that that's what we did today.